Buttercup, you know?
Oh man, have you guys figured out what you're gonna do for this week's episode? Like, because obviously there's the what if episode, and then you have the Hawkeye trailer. Are you gonna do both?
I think we'll probably do a little tease. I think we have to do a little breakdown of that, you
Yeah.
know, because it's big news. You know, everyone's clamoring for Hawkeye here.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but with that said, I don't think it'll be that bad. We'll talk. I don't want to take away,
Yeah.
some of our talking points for the show and the pre-show era here. You know.
No, of course. But I just wanted to get a.
But yeah, I think I would imagine. I haven't talked to Goo yet. I would imagine we would be covering something like that.
Yeah, I would imagine you won't talk to Goo till day of because Goo likes to work. Yeah. Never mind. I'm not gonna take shots at Goo. Not right now.
Goo's a working man. He's a father. You know.
No, that's not what I meant at all. Oh, you froze on me. It's a good thing we're doing this
He's a
pre-show.
friend. What are we doing here? Okay.
Okay, let's see. Oh shoot,
Speaking
nope.
of that, I'm gonna retweet it from that show account. How's
Yes,
that?
yes, yeah. I gotta do that from TLDR too.
Get all those retweets in there.
Yep. So Facebook is such a pain in the ass for me though with this one because it's like it recognizes me as like DSG person, and then it's like no, not right now. Please don't. Yeah, Doc already tweeted us too. What a guy.
How did you celebrate 9/11?
Oh Jesus, Wes. Good God.
Well, I mean, not maybe to celebrate, but you know what I mean. I mean, commemorate. How's that? Commemorate.
I don't think I did anything in particular for it, but I will say that I saw somebody on Facebook share like the. I didn't even know they made this into a movie. It makes sense. The transcript from that phone call on flight was it 93? I think the one that.
Oh. Yeah, so it was like the press secretary or something like that, and he took notes, right? And it has timestamps of every time of what the president was doing at the
Oh
moment.
no! This was like there was like somebody made a phone call, and I don't remember who it was to. I again I saw it on Facebook, but like a passenger on the flight made a phone call contacted maybe somebody from the airlines or whatever, and then they contacted like the FBI or something to that effect, and they were on a three-way call, and then they like the group that was on the call ended up deciding like we're gonna go after them and try and stop them.
On the Pennsylvania plane land, United 93. I got you. Yes. Okay.
United 93. There you go. That's exactly what it is.
You said that. Yeah. You said that.
So but I didn't remember the airline, but like I read the transcript. I didn't know they made it into a movie. I got to go watch this. But like reading that transcript, I was like, I got goosebumps from that. That shit's crazy.
Yeah, I had a tough time, you know, like so many like Netflix and all these other places, all these other channels and stuff has like the 20-year commemorative kind of look back of everything. Like I kind of have a tough time watching all of that stuff. But the one thing I do watch yearly when it comes up is the Wells Crowther ESPN Tom Rinaldi short about the red bandana BC.
Okay.
I can't remember. He was a football player. I want to say he was a lacrosse player. I'm blanking on it. But the BC student athlete there who was working in the towers, who saved a bunch of people and no one knew who he was. And everyone told the same story about some guy with the red bandana like that. That one always kind of gets me.
I forgot about that. That one's crazy. And I found out years later when I went to college. So there was somebody from my hometown that was on one of the flights that died. And then there was
I think I know actually. I think we might
Snyder's last
name.
Yeah. And then because she went to Stang.
Yeah, I knew her brother. Yeah.
Oh, you knew her brother. Okay, her brother went to Stang.
But they were both. Yeah, we were all kind of in high school at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And then I found out when I went to college that two of my teammates, their dads were supposed to be at the World Trade Centers, like in the buildings. That day. It's just crazy. Everybody has like a story in some capacity. It's weird. It's weird that it's 20 years too. I still remember where I was.
Oh, I mean, everybody does. I mean, it's weird because like the tie to it for I guess like to me in the way was born. You know, the public school at that point had just moved off the Air Force base, but the Air Force base there, the Otis Air Base, was still open, and they were the first people to scramble jets in response to the planes. Like they were the closest air base to it. So some of the kids you know, we call them base kids, you know, but they were like kids, military kids, you know, their parents were pulling them out, you know, before we didn't know anything. The school didn't tell us anything. They just said like, go have your parents tell you what happened pretty much.
Wow.
But it was crazy. So like we had no idea. I was like jealous of these kids getting called out because like I don't know. I just wanted to get out of school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a natural feeling.
And then you're like, oh, okay. Like something could have been like far more serious, you know?
So you would, so you would have been in middle school for that, right?
8th grade, yeah.
8th grade, yeah, okay, yeah. Because I was in elementary school for that. I remember, yeah, that was just yeah, it was weird, but odd.
Well, we also in middle school, like it was kind of like the rite of passage thing in the public school was 6th grade. You could do like a nature's classroom field trip. You know, you spend a week in like upstate New York or Western Mass doing like, I don't know, learning about like tribal luminescence, like stuff like that. I don't know, like weird, like outdoorsy type stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then 7th grade, you'd go to Washington, D.C. You do all that stuff. You go to Washington Monuments, all that stuff, you know? 8th grade New York City trip. I was supposed to go that year, did not go that year. That was a spring trip in the 8th grade that everyone always did.
Oh, wow.
Like, obviously, like that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I don't think it happened like since. That was like the end of it.
I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
Wow.
But on a lighter note, we got a great show lined up here. So now that we got the mood set, why not get started, right?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, El Capitan.
All right, perfect. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Nick, with a great podcast comes great responsibility, but we are not that great of a podcast, Nick. We are the Change My Mind podcast, and I am, of course, Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the penis to my Parker, Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, intern for hire.
Okay, I like the intern for hire. I will say that. I don't know about the penis thing. I don't know exactly where that came from. Why I'm the penis here, but okay.
You're all man. You're the alpha, right? That's there we go.
Yes. Man. Anyways, yes.
Is Tim Allen here? Is that what I'm?
Well, I mean, I know you're a huge fan and everything, right?
Oh,
that's the wrong Tim Allen character, though. I'm sorry. My apologize.
No, I'm a big fan of Tim Taylor.
What was I going to say? But I'll tell you what, Wes, what we're talking about today. I wasn't like, obviously, I knew this was something we were going to do at some point, but I wasn't over the moon about this particular episode. But then after rewatching it, I have a much different feelings about this movie we're discussing today.
Well, I love your setup here, Nick, because that's what we like to call in the business as a big market tease, because this week we are cracking open the MCU Rewatch Vault. We're moving right along here to review 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming. But before that, Nick, this is a build-up off of our one of our other previous intro questions of, how do you get dressed? What's the first thing you put on when you get dressed in the morning? The people are clamoring, Nick. What part of your body do you clean the least in the shower?
This might upset you. This is not a direct shot at you or anything like that, but it's probably my calves, I would say.
Well, no, it's not offensive at all.
Okay, good. All right, good. Yeah, but I know back of the knees, behind your ears, those are areas that can get missed very easily. Got to get the undercarriage.
Of course, yeah.
And armpits, and then feet. Those are the big ones, of course. So those never get missed. I would say probably, and then just in the course of things, it's probably my calves. Just, not something I necessarily look at a ton. Nobody else really does. So
I agree with you. I'm like almost in 100% agreement with you, because I was thinking about this the other day in the shower, as one might do. It's like the kneecaps and the shins. Like I'll wash the thighs, and I don't use like a loofah or a washcloth or anything. Just give me the Irish Springs directly into my hand, squirt it right in there. I'll lather it up on the chest, get it foamed up on the chest there, and then disperse it around the rest of my body. But I'll work it through, down to the up to the knees. The top of the thighs.
Yep.
And then around to the ankles and then the feet in between the toes and all that stuff. But never really the shins. The shins kind of, I think I'm okay for some reason.
I will definitely get the shins just because I'm going down to reach my feet and it's right out in front. But and I also, never forget your rear end either, because I always think of, it's maybe weird, but I always think
the undercarriage, I think that's all kind of encompassing,
This is true. But when it comes to that area specifically, I always think of Mr. Deeds. and it's one of Adam Sandler's buddies. I forget his name, but like the guy who's always in his shit. The main character in Grandma's Boy, he's like in Mr. Deeds. He's seen like really like lathering it all in his ass. Yeah. I'll never forget that. So.
Oh yeah, I do remember.
I think of him in the shower quite often.
Just stop soaping your ass. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, that's where we're at with this.
Okay, well, I think that's good. I think we're a very clean podcast. We're already the prettiest podcast. It's been well established. We don't even have to dig that back up. But I think we might be the cleanest podcast now after this, right? I mean,
I would say so. Well, depends on what you do. Your definition of clean.
How would you rate on a scale of 1 or 0 to 100? We'll use our finite scale here, very mathematic here. The combined cleanliness of the host of the other podcasts in the DSG.
Well, I know. So Joe. So how would I rank them?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
score them.
Doc is a doctor, so he's always sterile. So he's clear. Keith works with Shine and John Anderson, and we know what John Anderson's all about. So Keith's probably not all that clean.
I think for his sake, though, he would be. If he knew what was good for him.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to tell. Davey's a teacher, so I would imagine that he's got to be pretty clean. I would probably put.
I disagree. Yeah, this is where I think about children and high school students at this point. They're just bastions of viral loads, if you will, just carrying it out left and right.
I gotta be careful when I take my sips here.
That's an interesting term, by the way. Viral load. That's scientific, quote unquote.
Yeah, well,
or graphic, maybe. I don't know.
I'll tell you this. I think that Goo. Speaking of children, I would say Goo is probably the dirtiest. Not necessarily his fault. But he's got a baby at home, and then I would probably just say,
the baby. I got you.
Right. Well, and then Mac, I've heard that his roommate's pretty dirty. So like, I again by association, and then there's Rossi and Billy. I mean, we've seen how Billy takes care of that beard. So I mean,
no, see, I think Billy is very clean. I think he might be meticulously clean.
Of course, you're gonna come to your buddy's aid.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah.
When are you two going to start a podcast? The Kanye. I don't know what Kanye was
supposed to do. A Facebook Live of the Kanye thing, but I just never organized it. I dropped the ball.
Yeah, Lord knows you'd be the one that has to put that thing together. Of course.
Yeah. Well, no one else. I would be dragging everybody to the finish line, although not Billy there in that degree. But nonetheless, let's get into what's trending now. Of course, Kanye West is always trending, but what's trending right now, Nick, is Hawkeye Season 1 trailer that was released today, huh?
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to get that on November 24th. And I'll tell you what, Wes, I thought after the first 3 shows that Hawkeye was at least going to be fine. I felt like that we had at least a decent baseline on these movies. I know some people were let down by some of them, myself included. I thought Loki was going to be the definitive best MCU show. And as much as it was the most important, it was not my absolute favorite. However, I still liked it a lot in the end. I think after seeing Hawkeye, what, for someone who only cares about what it means, I don't know how important it's going to be for you, how much you're going to like it. But in terms of just overall entertainment value, I think we're seeing from this trailer, we're going to get a good mix of goofiness and action, and that's all I think I can really hope for in this.
Yes, I am cautiously optimistic. I want it to be good. I'm not really expecting a whole lot of it. I think this was upon the first release of the Disney Plus shows that we were getting. I think this might be the lowest ranked one, the least excited I was for any of those. But I think this looks kind of promising, because like, who really cares about Hawkeye? I don't really know a whole lot about Kate Bishop, although I do like the actress there, who I am blanking on her name there.
I'll get it for you.
But I do like her from Pitch Perfect 2 and those things of that ilk. But nevertheless, it's going to be tying in on the heartstrings a little bit. It has a golden retriever involved with one eye. So, it's really pulling on the heartstrings there. It's also right around Christmas time, the holiday season, which is an easy way to get me to like something. Something I find myself doing around the holidays, just going back and rewatching all of like the Office, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock Christmas specials from all the different seasons and everything, just because I enjoy being in the holiday spirit. I want it to be 24/7 Christmas around the time. This will be a fun bridge to what would be, I would imagine, New Year's.
Yeah.
Episode, something like that, right?
Sounds about right. And it's Haley Steinfeld, who you were thinking of.
Thank you. Haley Steinfeld. Yes.
Absolutely. And but I think if you're using Christmas to have the goofiness, I think there's going to be more to that. Like if you add that element, that'll be great. But in general, I just think this, like, coming into this, like you said, we thought this would be, of the first 4, it would probably be the worst. And that could still end up being the case, but with Hawkeye, you also have to factor in, Hawkeye's a part of it, so it probably should be the worst. And as long as it's better than fine, I mean, as long as it's fine, then I'm going to enjoy my time. Like that I'm hoping for fine. I think we'll get at least fine. So there's a chance that they could, end up with a decent grade, I think, at the end of all this, based on the trailer, at least.
Yeah, and I think, the connective tissue, what's it going to tie into? What does it all mean, right? I think you're going to see Yelena
Belova. Oh, that's a great call.
Coming back in there, right?
A great call. They set up for that.
And so I don't know, it looks like he's deaf at some point. It looks like Echo comes into play, who's another character, that could have some involvement and crossover to Daredevil, who was supposed to have Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is supposed to be in this, is rumored to be in this.
Anytime I hear that name,
might be confirmed.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. Every time I hear that name, I think of Goo's impression of Vincent D'Onofrio. the high-pitched voice like Vincent D'Onofrio, whatever that's from. I think of that every time. I don't know.
I can't. I don't know if I'm in on that joke. I would like to be on one day.
It's on his show. He doesn't. I don't know. Anyways, you have to ask him to do it on your show.
I'll ask him. Yeah, I'll ask him sometime. But yeah, so I think those are some interesting factors to it. Especially if it has some tie into the Netflix Daredevil series. I think that could be interesting how they kind of do those things.
Yeah, I think that integrating White Widow is the thing I forgot about, but makes perfect sense. I'd absolutely love to see her and Hawkeye in all this, because she stole the show in Black Widow. As much as I still liked Natasha in it, I thought Yelena was the best character in that movie, 100%.
Well, we have Dr. Joe Gilmore here, who is a 3-time Idle Hand Stein hoisting champion. So talk about someone with good hands. That he says Hawkeye is going to stink, but I'm interested. I got a little note for you here because, in my doing my internet sleuthing, my YouTube researching, the storyline that where this is supposed to be derived from, is a Hawkeye comic book, and it's supposed to be a graphic novel, and it was supposed to be like one that was really good. So people were really talking up this Hawkeye. I think it was just called Hawkeye.
Okay, you're gonna have
maybe something to think about for TLDR.
Well, I had a Hawkeye book that I had set aside that I would possibly do on the show by a writer who Joe and I like quite a bit, Matt Rosenberg. But I would like to know which one it is. So you and I are gonna have to talk afterwards. Maybe
I'll send you a link. Yeah, drop you a line.
That way Joe and I can kind of scope that thing out, because obviously we did that for Shang-Chi, and that was huge. Speaking of which, I know we got to get to What If, but I do want to mention that we talked about Why the Last Man on TLDR last week. So that's TLDR 47. That show starts this week. If you're watching us on the stream, it's starting tonight. It's an FX on Hulu show, so you'll be able to catch it on Hulu if you don't watch it live. But if you want to know more about that series, whether it's before you watch the first episode or after or whatever, make sure you go listen to TLDR. I really, really enjoyed that series. Written by Brian K. Vaughan, one of the best in the business over the last few decades. You hear us talk about Saga all the time. That's the guy who wrote Saga. So I have very high expectations for this series.
I got a question for you here. If Y is the last man, then why is his name not Z?
Because his name's York. I don't know, but that's a good point. I guess it kind of goes flows, and then his name's Yorick. So
why the last man feels like they're starting to ask a question and then just kind of lingers off. It's like Joe Biden giving a press conference, I don't know if it was that. Thank you. I'm here all weekend. Tip your waitresses.
I don't know if it was exactly that, but I think you're kind of along the right line of thinking.
Speaking of nearly dead, we have What If Season 1, Episode 5, Zombies, Nick, Zombies. What did you thought? Okay. I was excited before this came out. I'm going to answer my question before you. Sorry. But I was excited about this when I first heard about What If. I was like, all right, cool. This seems like fun. And then I got less and less excited about it as it came up. Pleasantly surprised with this.
Okay, good. Because I felt like some of the guys in our chat were like they didn't like it that much. Or maybe a little less apprehensive to say they didn't like it. I loved this one. I thought this was one of the better ones that we've gotten so far.
It was my second favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's between you didn't like the Avengers one, right? With
No, that was my favorite today.
So
the Avengers one today, this one here, and then very close with T'Challa, and I like the Doctor Strange as well.
We're very much in the same ballpark, and again, we talked about it last time with Strange. You definitely changed my mind on how I feel about that. I didn't love it at first, but in terms of what does it all mean, that is definitely the most important one in all of it. And we'll talk about that more, of course, when the season ends. But Zombies was right there for my second favorite. I'm not. I don't want recency bias to get in the way of it, but I will rewatch it all before the show, before we do our full episode. Mm-hmm. I thought it kicked ass.
Well, I think it drew on a trope that we're going to be talking about in our main topic here, which was the Spider-Man home POV video thing, which I thought was very fun, about how to survive a zombie apocalypse, zombie land type of thing, right? So I thought that was kind of fun. Again, a lot of cool deaths. So I think this was, campy. I think what my other podcasting partner Goo says on What If, we talked about Marvel's What If, would you listen, a Marvel What If podcast, was like you or I, this is like fan fiction at its fullest. I know it's derived from comics and stuff like that, but the idea of all right, what would happen here? This all feels like great fan service.
Yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be different. And I was actually listening to an interview, I forget who it was recently, but they were talking about Marvel What If and how the title, like things under the umbrella of Marvel What If, have not done well in terms of sales and whatever in comics in the past. But when you go and take a story and then you just turn it into a what if and like a longer, more fleshed out sort of thing, mm-hmm. and then you don't call it What If necessarily, like Marvel Zombies in the comics, like those are going to be more successful. And I think that right now it's a good little taste for us, but I think there are some of these stories that if you had gone and fleshed it out more, well, we probably would have enjoyed it. But yes, that's what you're talking about is largely what it's supposed to be. In a show format, it's interesting. So I have a lot of feelings about it. And actually, we're talking about, like, before the show, our scheduling and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be an 8-episode season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
8 or 9.
Okay.
I can't recall. But
I hope it's 9.
We got to add this in, actually. That's a good. You're right. Yeah.
I hope it's 9, because if it's not 9, if it's 8, I think then that episode would be the day we're supposed to do Venom, and then Dune's out around that time too. So things just get all,
October's jam-packed month of October here. What was not what will be jam-packed, part of my French here, the runtime of No Time to Die, Nick.
What the
coming in with 2 hours and 43 minutes, aka the longest James Bond film ever. And I'm not talking about in the bedroom, folks. You know what I mean?
Well, it could end up being that as well, but well played. Although age is not on his side in this one. I don't get it, Wes. I don't understand why you feel. I am not the person on this show, or I mean, in the freaking DSG, to complain about the length of a movie. I mean, I love Lord of the Rings and those things, even the extended cuts. Why the fuck are you making a 2 hour and 43 James Bond movie? Like,
I know it better be a great. I love Anna de Armas. I love Daniel Craig. I love Christoph Waltz. Like, it seems like they're playing kind of like he's going to be doing like a Hannibal Buress type thing. Or Hannibal Lecter, excuse me. He's not outing Bill Cosby as a Bill Cosby though. That's not what he's doing. Okay. But no, he's doing a Hannibal Lecter type thing, which could be interesting. I don't know. It seems, again, to use this word that I feel like I'm really harping on here, derivative. But we'll see. I'm going to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to see it in theaters, but.
Yeah, we'll figure out if we're gonna. I know we've toyed with the idea of doing an episode on that, but I forget where this was gonna fall on our schedule and everything. But 2 hours and 43 minutes, man, I feel bad asking anybody to sit through that necessarily.
It just feels right. Like, it feels like this falls in line with what James Bond and the people who run that franchise think of itself. Like yes, of course we're gonna do this big grandiose thing, and the fact of the matter is, people don't really care about James Bond all that much anymore.
No, I think he definitely still has an audience, but it's not like he used to be. I mean, that's what's happening with action movies now. Like, you can't. It's hard to make a good action movie unless you're unless you're Marvel right now, or some serious legacy characters. And I know Bond is still there, but it's not the same. You're right.
Yeah, or F9. It's the Fast franchise, and it's the Marvel franchise if you want to make action movies. Or the Expendables.
But by the way, Joe in the chat says he's a sucker for James Bond, and apparently I'm gonna have to be the one that reads the Hawkeye book.
Oh, okay. He's already calling dibs. MTV VMAs. I always like to bring this up when they come out, Nick, because it was something much like James Bond in a way, was something that was once held near and dear to my heart. It was celebrating 40 years of MTV. And it was just horrible. Nick, I know you didn't watch this or anything, but the wife and I put it on last night. We're like, oh, this will be fun to kind of, let's see what we got going on after she comes back from the beach day, the Patriots lost. I'm like, all right, let's see what we got here. A little change of pace. And it was all like the most obvious product placement that I've ever seen. It would be a commercial with an artist during the commercial break, and then they would come back and perform during the show, the award ceremony, and then right after that there would be an award that they would win. So it would be like Doja Cat would be in a commercial for Pepsi, and then she would come out and perform her hit single and then win Best New Artist for that song. You know what I mean? And it was it all just seems like all very much paid to be there and it just like, and I don't know if this was something that always happened and I'm just getting older now. Or if this is just like
maybe I don't know,
blatant corporatism, like capitalism at its worst.
I mean, I can appreciate something where you're like trying to be fluid and cohesive and all like kind of like synergy and all this, but that sounds like it's way too forced.
It sounds like you're paying the people because again, they're celebrating like 40 years of MTV, and it's like they're not even like going back like to like they did some like they didn't have any mega performances. They had like the boy bands come out and introduce an award or introduce a singer or something like that, but like come back. Like I want to see Backstreet Boys do a crossover with NSYNC on the MTV Movie Awards. I want to see Carson Daly and like Kurt Loder and like Sway in the Morning and Matt Pinfield and like bring all these people back from MTV if you're celebrating your 40 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, I would think, okay, you're going to kind of do a lot of like appealing to people's nostalgia for MTV, and they didn't do that.
No. Again, this was, it's not for me. That's kind of what I come to grips with. I want it to be for me. I did not really, know many of the performers.
It should be though, Wes. You're right in that like middle ground. Like you're like the both of us are right in that. I wasn't an MTV guy necessarily, but our age range, you should be trying to appeal to that. I would think more than anybody in this.
No Drake, no Kanye. Those are like the two biggest artists right now. Who just dropped albums. You would think you would want them like maybe in there to promote music. I don't know. No mention of them. No, nothing like that.
Drake is surprising that he wasn't there.
Kelly. Yeah.
Oh boy, who just got in a fight with, was it Conor McGregor? Apparently
that was at the.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Oh no shit! I didn't know that.
See, you know more than you knew.
Oh wow! Look at that. Okay, well.
Speaking of knowing more than we knew, let's go over to your comic book minute. I'm just full of segues tonight.
Yeah, you are on fire. I didn't want to say it in any of them because I didn't want to take away from them all, but they've been killer so far.
No, acknowledge them.
Oh, okay, I will in the future. But but speaking of killer, actually, from DC this week, we have the first issue of the Harley Quinn, the animated series, the Eat, Bang, Kill Tour, issue 1. That is a fucking mouthful, but I am actually absolutely going to be reading this and talking about it on TLDR this week, of course. Really like the show. We did not do an episode for either season, right? Because it wasn't on HBO until right now, correct?
I have not. No, but I guess I could give that a watch if we ever wanted to go back there.
Yeah, when the third season comes out, we can discuss that. I know that that's still in the works. I'm not sure when exactly it's supposed to come out. But I know with Goo, Billy and I did something for the second season, and then Goo did one of his we did like a modified 6-pack when those were still a thing for the first.
Remember MODOK, by the way? Sorry to interject on the minute here. Remember MODOK? I got like memory holds in that show for a second there. We like zipped through that so fast that I forgot that it was even there.
That was a weird one. That was a show that was all dropped on Hulu right away, and that was such a fucking letdown. Also this week, I know I fell off on the ongoing Eternal series that Kieran Gillen was writing, and I do like his writing a lot. It's just characters that I didn't care a whole ton about. This week, there's a new Eternal series starting, and I think I'm going to have an easier time getting invested in this, and I believe Gillen is writing this as well. This is Eternals Thanos Rises issue 1. So you already got my attention. You're bringing Thanos in the mix. I think this is where you had this stuff earlier in the year with the Eternals. I think that's a good call. You try and get people reading more Eternal stuff, reintroduce these characters, or in a lot of cases, introduce these characters to people. Now you're going to bring Thanos back in. I'm definitely interested in this. So I will give it a shot. As for our main books this week, Joe's going to be doing a Vertigo book. Why the Last Man is also a Vertigo book. Of course, I talked about that last week. Joe has American Carnage, which is recommended to us by Axel Alonso, who we had on a little while back. He is the chief creative officer of AWA Studios. We had him on to talk about that company as well as his time at Marvel and Vertigo. And then I am going to be doing Sean Lewis's The Few, which is an Image Comics books. I mean, he pretty much exclusively does stuff there. We've had him on. He's now writing King Spawn for Image Comics as well. So a lot going on over there, but we got to get to what we're talking about today.
Sean Lewis's comic book there, The Few, that's on the Marines, I take it?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. There is a little military-ish vibe in this, so you laugh, but...
No, I didn't laugh. I was dead serious. And it probably wasn't that good of a joke anyway. I did, however, just take my shoes and socks off because I want to get comfortable for this main topic here. I want to be able to breathe and let my webbed toes be able to stretch out a little bit here because we are cracking open the MCU Rewatch vault for Spider-Man Homecoming, hence the web toes. And the synopsis of said film, as Peter Parker balances his life as an ordinary high school student in Queens with his superhero alter ego Spider-Man, and finds himself on the trail of a new menace prowling the skies of New York City.
You know, at some point, I think we need to find a way to have you switch back over to the cast and crew, not out of nowhere. Like, we need to create like a punishment because cast and crew is always way tougher than the synopsis. So we got to figure that out at some point. This is significantly easier than the Shang-Chi one, though.
Well, maybe the debates, the debates will be the result of that. How's that?
I like that a lot. We're gonna have to do a debate soon. Then, all right. Directed by John Watts, written by John Francis Daly, John Watts, and Jonathan Goldstein.
Loud Johns.
Tom Holland as Peter Parker Spider-Man, Michael Keaton as Adrian Toombs, the Vulture, Robert Downey Jr., who is, of course, Iron Man, Tony Stark, Marissa Tomei as the youngest Aunt May in the history of the universe, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, Zendaya as Michelle, also known as MJ. We'll talk about that more later. Jacob Batalon as Ned, which I found interesting. You know what, Wes? You do a lot of the internet research stuff, and for the Easter egg, I found something very interesting that none of us have talked about before, and I didn't realize this until I was doing research for this episode.
I think I saw it in there, and I was pleasantly surprised. I loved it.
It's a good one. Let's see. Then we got Laura Harrier as Liz, Tony Revolori as Flash Thompson, Jennifer Connelly as Karen, which is Peter's suit assistant.
Yes, in the box office and critics' reception here, we hauled in $888 million. Of course, that's $334 million domestic, including $117 million on its opening weekend. That $880 million ranks 10th in the MCU, behind Far From Home, actually, and ahead of Thor Ragnarok, which will be coming up in our. I think we're 2 away from that one, but it currently has a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. And a robust 92-87 split on Rotten Tomatoes with a 4.25 on the Nubile Google reviews.
Right, of course, which is out of 5. So we got our score and tweet length review. Wes, would you like to lead the way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming right out of the gates hot here. This is my highest rated movie to date that we've seen. This movie gets so many things right, particularly in regards to an accurate Peter Parker Spider-Man. Its take on the origin story I particularly liked, as well as introducing a grounded villain whose motives are relatable to the audience. It's packed with fun, has a lot of heart, while also capturing the awkward innocence of the high school experience. Could be a 95 out of 100.
I think 95. that is that's the highest grade that you've given so far. You hadn't given even a 94 yet to this point, if I'm not mistaken. So I gave this a 91 out of 100. And I did not care much for this movie when I first saw it. And this rewatch was probably the first time I've seen it since I watched it in theaters. Maybe the second time, but I'm pretty sure it's the first time. And Holland was never the issue. I enjoyed his performance the first time around, but now I have a much greater appreciation for how the Vulture was written for this movie.
Yeah, so this is one of the rare instances where I'm giving a higher score than you do here, Nick.
Yeah, does not happen often. And this ends up putting it as a tie for third or tied for second, right? On our grading system?
Tie for second, but I think our tiebreaker is the higher score of the individual scores here, right? Is the tiebreaker here. So we have at 93, we have Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Captain America Civil War, with the tiebreakers going in that order, right? So Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America Civil War. Our number one right now, I released this on our Twitter handle at Change My Mind Pod. If you want to see this, actually, Captain America: The Winter Soldier still holding number one by a thread, by the hair of its chinny chin at 93.5.
Yeah, I gotta say, as much as I have the same grade for Captain America: Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, I am surprised that Guardians of the Galaxy is not our number one on this list. I do think, like, when we talk about our old, like the greatest movies in the MCU, I mean, it's still at the top, but it's going to slide down because of a couple other major ensemble movies. But I thought that would be tops, going into the Endgame stuff.
Oh yeah, well, it hasn't been for a while though. I mean, the Winter Soldier's been up there, above it, for since the get-go,
Yeah, no, I know. I just I haven't really reflected on that or weighed in on it. I just thought like that.
It's just hitting you now.
Yeah. I mean, because I gave it the same, both of them 94s, but I think if gun to my head, was it James Gunn to my head, Sean Gunn to my dick? I think that I would probably go with Guardians ahead of Captain America: Winter Soldier, but they're so close. There's another movie that I have on a similar playing field to them, but that's a conversation for another day.
You're splitting hairs here, especially when we're talking about the great stuff here. But before we get into our categories, Nick, is this the best Spider-Man we've gotten on the big screen? Yeah.
So, all right, I think that as much as Tobey Maguire was looked very old, I really thought he did Peter Parker well. I thought Spider-Man looked cool, and the action was so revolutionary and everything, so that was all fine. But I really liked Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. His Peter Parker fucking sucked. That was terrible.
He was too cool.
Yes, but as Spider-Man, he worked. But nobody does the combination better than Tom Holland. And I'm not saying that Tobey Maguire does Peter Parker better. I think Tom Holland does both best. Just because he's so young in his Spider-Man career, but and
he looks young too. He actually looks like he could be in high school.
That's also very helpful in the course of all this. So yeah, I think that this is definitively the best Spider-Man we've gotten in live action so far.
Yeah, and while he is pretty ruggedly handsome, he still comes across as that nervous, again, that innocent, childlike nerd. He's awkward around people and girls and stuff like that. Even though in reality he has no business being shy or nervous around girls. Yeah, he's cut up. He's freaking Spider-Man. Yeah. But also, if you want a little bit more insight and conversation and debate on the Spider-Man topic, because it's one that I know is near and dear to my heart. I know to both of our hearts, but I can speak for myself here. But to go back to listen to our original versus sequel debate on the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 1 and 2 here, that's episode 76. Going back into the archives. So do some digging and do your own rewatch vault, re-listen vault. How about that? That
was a good one. That was a fun one. I think that might have been our first original versus sequel debate, which of course, we'll be doing more of those down the line. But that one was definitely one of the better ones. But anyways, it is time to get to the awards, Wes. And of course, we always start with the On Your Left award for most rewatchable scene. What do you got for me?
Yeah, first and foremost, this is Peter's car ride with Adrian Toombs. I feel like we're going to be coming back to this scene a lot throughout the course of this conversation here. The big turn is just after the turn where Peter realizes that, Adrian Toombs, Michael Keaton is the Vulture. But Adrian hasn't really put together that Peter is Spider-Man yet, and it's in that car ride that he puts it together about the trip to DC and everything, and then of course saying, he keeps calling Liz, I don't know, what is it, pumpkin pancake, something like that, some cute kind of pet name
pumpkin.
sort of thing. Pumpkin, yeah. He's like, I gotta have the old dad talk. Takes out the gun, and then you get those great lines, which we'll get into a little bit later. But he plays a really convincing villain.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into this in so many different ways, but a very convincing killer here for a guy who kind of seems to be over the top, chewing the scenery, but it's still convincing.
Yeah, when I was rewatching it, it's like the little bits and pieces like that he's put. He's obviously a very smart dude and very careful and meticulous with what he does. That's why he's had so much success over the past 8 years as he's taken on this new job since Tony Stark took it away from him effectively. It's just hearing each little thing. It's like, okay, and then the voice too. Of course, he's hearing that, and that's definitely jogging his memory. So I don't know if that would get my vote here. I had to think about it for a second longer because there's a few other nominees, but that was definitely a great one.
I mean, I would go back and rewatch it again. This is my favorite movie. I must have rewatched this a ton of times. As soon as it came out, video on demand, bought it. Paid the $20 on Files and all that stuff. And I just always loved that scene. I know this is traditionally something that goes to more action sequences and something like that. But as far as a big pivotal moment that really defines what I love about this movie, I think it's that scene in and of itself. But what do you got for me here?
Well, I think I know you have a couple more, but the plane fight scene for me was, I mean, the idea of we're going to rob Iron Man's guy, basically. We're technically robbing Iron Man for all intents and purposes. And they've got this crazy plane too, where it's all the way it's the reflective mirrors and everything like that. And then the action, of course, and the course of all of it too is nuts. You get to after the thing crashes and everything, it's kind of whatever. But everything from the crashing to when that Vulture and Spider-Man first landed on the plane, it was just this shit is nuts and intense the entire time. And of course, we don't know if Vulture is going to survive this whole endeavor or not. So I thought that was really well done in the action. And that, I mean, there's a few other good action scenes in this, of course, but that was probably my favorite action sequence in all this.
See, it wasn't. There's a couple other ones. There's one other fight scene that I like, action scene that I like, that I feel features Peter a little bit more. What I liked about the plane fight scene is that it features Adrian and the Vulture really well, and his tech and everything like that. From a Spider-Man perspective, he's up in the air. He's not really in his element where he can sling around and attach to stuff and everything, right? So, but I think that's pretty cool to see what Toombs can do, what Phineas Mason the Tinkerer can do, and all that kind of stuff. That's them at their peak. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, the idea of heist and hijacking a Tony Stark filled tech, plane. I'm burping here, but I think that's really cool.
The thing with me after on this rewatch, Vulture grew on me so much more because he was so different from the comics, the animated show, that at first I was just when I first saw it, it kind of threw me for a loop the first time I ever watched this movie. But now it's okay, this is what he is. And obviously they change shit in the MCU all the time. I'm fine with that usually, but it just felt so weird for me initially. This time around, it's oh yeah, now I'm understanding the character even more. I kind of know his story already, and now I'm getting these details. So having him kind of show off all his shit, that stuff kind of kicks ass. I kind of like that a lot. But what do you have for the Spider-Man action scene?
Well, it's first before that, I would say it's the introduction to Peter Parker, right in the beginning of the movie. I think it's a great tone setter right after we find out that cold open with Adrian Toombs and what his backstory and his motive. It goes right into Spider-Man, right with the POV. Maybe the timing is I'm screwing up there, but I'm talking about the film by Peter Parker, the POV look back from Civil War, and his perspective with the handy cam sort of thing. Again, what I was talking about, what I liked about the What If episode with the zombies. I think that's, again, a fun, different perspective, and to look back on what was a great, to this point, the greatest set action piece in Marvel history, right? With all those heroes together on one stage. I think that's pretty cool to see it through the eyes of a 15-year-old who's experiencing it for the first time.
And there's more to that in our conversation too, because there is something that on the rewatch that we both caught afterwards. That like after we see this little video where Peter has this montage, that I was stunned when I saw this. But we'll get to that more later. What is your last nominee for the On Your Left award?
Yeah, the last one is the Ferry Rescue, and it comes up, and I think this has some problems. Maybe it comes up in unanswerable questions a little bit, but I think that's really cool. You get that iconic scene of him kind of pulling it together, which is a callback to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man's on the train scene with the subway car. So it's a nod to the past, while also kind of updating it to the future. And again, this movie kind of does this a lot with the Washington, D.C. trip, the fight on the plane, the golf course, or here, it's putting Peter in situations that are a fish out of water type of element where he's not really, in a place where he can utilize his abilities to his full capacity. He's out in the middle of water in this case. He's not out in the golf course where, he can't sling and he has to run now. So I think it's an interesting take on a coming of age story through the prism of a superhero or a comic book story.
Yeah, I think that is, it's funny too. When I'm rewatching the just breaking down the fight when that gun starts firing off. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't this the thing that like splits the whole boat in half? How the fuck is it gonna? Oh,
I don't know how that does, because if it sprays off, like it almost has to spray off like directly vertically, you know what I mean, but it seems to spray off kind of randomly, like not in a line.
Yeah, well, it's the webs that fuck it all up, if I'm not mistaken. But either way,
but the webs would make it shoot sporadic, like it wouldn't be covering up, it wouldn't be missing a straight line. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, you're right. Either way, I thought that was a good scene. I think all of these are definitely rewatchable, but my vote still goes to the one that I brought up. I think the plane fight scene was my favorite scene in all this.
It's Toombs. It's got to be Toombs for me. We're going to be split on this one here.
Either way, it's Toombs. Toombs is a winner.
Yeah, Toombs big winner on this. Yeah.
So then that brings us to the America's Ass Award, Wes, which of course, what aged the best? And you got our 4 nominees for this one.
Yeah. Let's start with Marissa Tomei. I mean, just
yeah, of course, yeah.
Just I don't think we need to say anything else.
No. I think you got it covered there. 2 words, Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, and I think we'll get the big winner out of the way here. The Vulture reveal, who's to be Liz's father. I think everybody caught by surprise. I don't know what that says about us as a culture, but it caught, I think, everybody by surprise here. I don't think nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was very, very well done. And yeah, I thought, even rewatching it, it's like, yep, that's Vulture's daughter, and I'm watching the whole way, and it's like they really never ever give us a tease to like that being the dad, other than he's not there like the one time we see the mom first.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Amazing.
It's good stuff here. And then again, I think just an honorable mention. You get the age accurate Spider-Man. You get the take on the origin story. Shying away from how Peter gets his powers and the Uncle Ben death, something that we've seen too many times over and over. We don't need that again. Like we've spent how many times going over Batman's death with the pearls and stuff like that in the Opera House. So I appreciated that. I thought that aged really well. But the Vulture reveal, all time. Yeah,
absolutely. That's definitely number one. And honestly, when I first watched it, I didn't feel like everybody else did after that first one. I was not in that camp where like everybody loved it. That was still something that was like, oh, this kicked ass. Like this was really good. But anyways, so we're in agreement on that one. Let's go to the Mirror Match Villain Award for what aged the worst.
Yeah, this is kind of something based off of what we talked about during our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 rewatch here, and I think that was a point you brought up, but it was the introduction of Adam Warlock and that kind of tease, and not having the payoff there. I kind of think it's similar in the introduction of Aaron Davis and that reference to Miles Morales, where that was just like everyone's kind of been talking about it and waiting for something to happen. Far From Home, it hasn't happened. It doesn't seem like Home or No Way Home it's going to happen. It just seems like this is going to be a loose end that's going to stay, not tied off. With that kind of sucks.
With No Way Home, like there's reason to think that it could still happen because you're getting all these other people thrown in the mix for sure.
But again, it's so far. Now you're talking 3 movies away from the time that you teased it, and you had Donald Glover do it too. So it just made it seem like it would be more time sensitive. Like I don't know, higher up in the priorities.
Well, I never thought that was going to happen, and I did not know that you thought this was going to happen. That we were going to see him this early because Miles Morales.
Why not though? You know, why even have him in the movie? I know like he was supposed to play Spider-Man, so that was I kind of give him his flowers in that moment. But like, why even include it then?
Well, okay, so there's two reasons. There's obviously the logistical standpoint of like Peter Parker in the MCU still has a lot left to do because Tom Holland is so young, right? So there's that. But then the other factor in all this is Miles Morales in the comics doesn't become Spider-Man until Peter Parker is much older.
I hear you, man. But my point is like, why even put it in this 2017 movie if like all that stuff is what you're saying is true? You know, like why do it then? That's what I'm saying. It aged the worst.
Okay,
like it just seems like again, just something they just did just to throw in, and then like I don't know, maybe we'll get back to it, but probably not. It won't be with Childish Gambino, you know, like that. You're gonna have to find a new Prowler and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, Prowler was not like some spring chicken. I don't know how old Donald Glover is, but
I don't know. What's his interest at that point? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like maybe he just doesn't want to do anything with it.
Prowler's a pretty cool character. I don't know why he wouldn't want to do that. But anyways, I don't know. I was surprised when I saw you had this jotted down as one of yours. For me, I have two nominees, but one of them is Flash Thompson. I think this is such a fucking like bastardization of the character. I mean, I understand that bullies have changed from when you and I were kids, but at the same time, I was like, how in anybody's right mind is this Flash Thompson a bully? I'm sorry, what? Because he says things that like are like kind of not funny at all. Like
he's like an above average, or he's like an average rich kid. You know what I mean? Like he's not smarter than Peter Parker. He doesn't really seem to be more athletic. He's not necessarily more good looking. He's just
nothing.
Like an average rich son.
That is it. And he's somehow a bully because of that. Yeah. Like I don't get it at all. It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. Like he needs to either be really smart or he needs to be like freaking jacked, like Joe Manganiello was in the Tobey Maguire one. But so yeah, I that was another thing that pissed me off so much. And I still don't like it. That is probably my biggest frustration, greatest point of frustration from this movie.
No, I agree with you, and I became a big fan of Flash Thompson, Agent Venom from the Contest of Champions game, and like his whole backstory. So I started looking into him and all that kind of stuff, and how like he loved him and then felt betrayed. So I wonder if we kind of start to see that arc here at some point with the unmasking of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and No Way Home later on down the future with him, and maybe what that holds from. But getting way ahead of our britches, I agree with you. Flash Thompson, kind of a dink.
Oh my God, he's just not. He's a dink and he's not a bully. Like that's my biggest. Like I don't care. Like
that's a good DJ.
Yeah, no, none of it. And then the other thing, this is a minor one, but it's just like, and this is semantics for sure on my part, but still, the way they handled MJ, I have no problem with Zendaya doing it. I think a different take on that character, but still enjoyable. The biggest thing is like her name is Michelle. Okay, like, well, so why not make it where her name is like she has like a preferred nickname as Michelle, but her actual name is Mary Jane, and then that's where the MJ comes from later on, where she wants to change her nickname. Lord knows we've heard of people making up their own fucking nicknames, right? So yeah. I don't understand why you just completely dump Mary Jane, other than the fact like that it's such an old school name. Like you can totally write around it. I didn't like that.
The only thing I could think of, and I agree with you, I thought that was kind of like a cheap way of doing it, but like the only thing I could possibly think of is that if she was MJ, then your whole storyline with like from the get-go is Mary Jane, then your whole storyline with Liz and the
he had a crush. No, Liz is like
there.
I know Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy are the popular ones, but Flash, I was in of course the research and everything. I didn't know this because this is like really old shit. Liz has been around like she was a love interest before them. Yeah. I don't know how serious it was, but like she was. And for Flash Thompson for that matter too. So I don't know where that came from. Why they decided to do it. But to me, like it's a small thing, but it pissed me off, but not as much as Flash.
No, I think we're in agreement there on that. Yeah, it's still the Aaron Davis, and that kind of bothers me. That feels out of place for me. So I think we're split. We're split there.
Yeah, it's gonna happen once in a while. We have the Quantum Realm Award for unanswerable questions, and I have two. You don't have any for this one, right? It's just these two.
No, but I love your questions here, though, so I'm all for it.
Okay, so these are pretty close. So we got, what are all the web shooter options Peter has in his suit? We find out it's like 570 something, right?
I want to see him though. That would be like, give me like a one-shot tutorial of like him finally going through with Karen and just like doing like learning all that stuff. Like I want that.
Like the one shot from they did with oh my god, what's his name from the fake Mandarin guy?
Trevor
Kingsley?
Slattery.
Yes, Trevor Slattery. Yes, thank you. So that's one. And then the other one, I think I might be a little more interested in this. What are the other jobs, kind of like Adrian Toombs, that have been created in the MCU by the madness that ensued from the Avengers initially?
Right. So this is kind of where the first time that we get an inside look of what happened, what it's like to be an average person in the world of superheroes. Right. So it's like kind of starting to see the fallout for it. Again, also why I really like this movie, because it kind of starts to raise those questions and brings them to the next level a little bit. And I think that's where you relate to Toombs, is that he's just a regular construction guy trying to getting screwed over by the man, another billionaire who's, causing the damage and then getting paid to clean it up afterwards, right? As we see explained a little bit later. So you're kind of rooting for the guy, it's like, this guy's get screwed. If that was me, like I'd be pissed too.
He got totally fucked over. I thought they did I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't appreciate this character more the first time around, but very well written. Love. And I think, I don't know which one gets my vote in this one, which they're both mine. I feel pretty.
And just a question off of that question, I think, is like, how irresponsible is the oversight of Stark Industries, more specifically Happy Hogan, where like all this stuff is just out on the streets and you don't know it? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, it wasn't for Spider-Man, right? And also, actually, why? Maybe this could be an unanswerable question. Why did Tony Stark not tell Spider-Man that he told the FBI to look into this shit? Like, could have resolved like the whole, like the Ferry thing. Could have easily avoided that.
Communication, bro. Communication.
Either way, I think those are both good questions, but I think in the end it would be quicker to get the answer for the web shooters. So I'm going to go with that.
Yes, I like that too. Yes.
All right. So we have, what does it all mean? The top Easter eggs and ties to the MCU West. Where do you want to start?
Yes. You want to take the end credits? I'll start with the mid credits here.
Sounds good.
You flash forward to the near future where Toombs is in prison after getting arrested and breaking up his whole family, moving to Portland there. And he meets a former associate from the Ferry, Matt Gargan, from who has a scorpion tattoo on his face and who wants to know who Spider-Man's identity is. But Toombs does not give up his name because he saved his daughter and then himself. Like, he really owes a debt of gratitude a couple times over to Spider-Man. But this raises my question, Nick. Is this the sixth villain that we don't see in No Way Home?
Okay, I really would love to see Scorpion.
That would be cool.
Part of me thinks, Wes, that it would.
It has to be Mysterio, right?
Well, it could be Mysterio. That's actually a really fucking good point. But I can easily see it being Vulture too, because it's like they all know, like all these guys come in. It's like, we heard that we heard that like that who Spider-Man is. Like, we're gonna fucking kill you if you don't tell us who it is.
Oh, I see that. A little against his will, hold him hostage. Okay.
But then it's like, and then he joins them either way. So, or he could say, like, I already saved Peter once. Now I'm not saving him again. So I would love to see. I would say I would prefer Scorpion of them all because I want to see what his suit looks like. But then I would bet that it's either Vulture or Mysterio. But I think, oh God, I gotta say Vulture. Vulture's the sixth one. But
is the Shocker still in the picture? The Shocker, I shock things. Like,
there's no way he could be the sixth one, though. There's no way they're gonna hold that back on us. We could see him again, though. We could see him again for sure, and we could see Scorpion, kind of like what they did. Was it Spider-Man 2 or like the Garfield ones where we saw the Rhino? You could easily see the Scorpion.
Yeah, just kind of pop in there, or like a Crossbones type thing in Civil War.
Yeah,
mini early boss. Yeah,
I love that. That'd be cool. Just to see what his suit looks like. I want it because I think it would kick ass.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
So then we have the end credit scene, which is also probably known as the biggest middle finger from Marvel to fans ever. Captain America's PSA on the value and virtue of waiting, patience. Of course, this is a standing troll job, Wes, but I got to say, like, they're the reason that we stick around waiting for end credit scenes. Like, what the fuck, guys? Like, you're going to use a middle finger, but you're the one that did this.
I specifically remember having to pee so bad. And I'm at the Mashpee Common Theaters, and I'm standing up right next to the doorway to get out of there. I'm just waiting, and I like have to go. Like, it is painful. And then they play that, and I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding me. And I better walk out of there and just like break. I think a couple kids are next to me, and like I was just so pissed. But now I look back, I think it's funny. I think it's
it's funny. It's funny now because I've forgotten as we're watching. I'm like, what's the end credit scene for this? And it's like, oh shit, that's right. They did all these videos. Once you see the white screen, it's like, oh wow, this fucking guy again. But yeah, that was very well done.
And we had one of the better Stan Lee cameos here too, so where he appears out of the window during Peter's failed attempt at stopping a theft. And he's like, hey, that's his car there. But that's not the funny part, is when he calls over to the lady across in the other building. He's like, hey, Marjorie, how are you? How's your mother?
Yeah.
That's it. It just cuts away.
Perfect Stanley. I honestly, like, some of these, I think most people feel that way too. Like, they don't think of the Stanley cameo, when you're rewatching it necessarily, but going into it, it's like, how's he gonna appear? What's he gonna do?
We don't get him anymore.
Yeah. But they've recorded a few out. I can't remember how far out.
Yeah, I think the last one. I mean, it wasn't in Black Widow. It wasn't in Shang-Chi. So I think it's done.
Oh, maybe you're right. Fuck. Okay, that would make sense. That's too bad. This next one, I did not. As we were getting ready for the episode, of course, Wes and I jot notes down so that we can kind of see and sometimes have to read things off to you guys. And I did not see this note when before I watched this movie. I was blown away when I saw this character, and I was watching this with Lauren, and I'm like, holy fuck. And I don't want to take away from the note that you pointed out first. So go ahead and lay this one on the people.
Are you talking about the street vendor?
Yep.
Oh yes, yeah. This was a big thing. So I knew I recognized him in Shang-Chi, and I wasn't sure about it, like where it was then. Again, because I watched this movie so many times. But Clev, who's played by Zach Cherry, who's a street vendor, he asked Spider-Man to do a flip. He's like, hey, you're the Spider-Man guy, do a flip. Yeah. But he is also on the bus doing the live stream during the Shang-Chi bus fight there. And then later on in Shang-Chi, when they're referencing his fight in the gulag there, he's like, oh, you're the other guy who was in the other viral bus fight. Like, someone's like, he's, and again, referencing to the greater universe. That everyone knows who Spider-Man is. Everyone knows who Shang-Chi is here.
It was crazy, though. I mean, I saw this, and it's like, wait a minute. That's the same fucking guy. And it's not like in Shang-Chi, we see him, and it's like as close as you're seeing Wes and me right now if you're watching this on the live stream. But in Spider-Man, he's like it's a pretty far away shot from when we see this character, Clev.
It's the voice, though.
Yeah, it's the voice that does it. And he's in his hairstyle, too, like really sticks out. It's like, holy shit. That's the guy. I was blown away. I was glad you saw it, but at the same time, I was kind of pissed because, like, fuck, I thought I was the only one that saw this one.
I'm pretty sure there was some, like, I think he's a stand-up comedian or something, or like a YouTuber, or like like short video TikToker, that type of thing, Vine person, but internet creator, maybe that's the term. I don't know, but it was some viral campaign for him to get into the MCU as like a regular character. I think there was like some petition, .org or something like that. And it must have worked. It must have got enough crowdsourcing there.
It's nice to have those little characters though that kind of connect to the greater, like just little tiny people that we see every once in a while. And actually, that kind of leads into one of the ones that I found, which is a very, very strange one. So Kenneth Choi, who played Peter's principal in this movie, was in another MCU movie as well, but he played a different character. He was in Captain America, the First Avenger. And in my research, as far as I could tell, I didn't know if this would fall under the Sleuth Award or I felt like this is an Easter egg more so.
I think this is an Easter egg, yeah.
From what I saw.
It did take some sleuthing.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mix here, but basically he's playing the grandson of that character that we saw in Captain America: First Avenger, which I would blow away.
The Howling Commandos.
Yes, the Howling Commandos. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that was one that I was like, I saw him at first, and then I just kind of stumbled upon this in my research, and I was like, wait a second, you shitting me? That's where I've seen this guy before.
Yeah, I think that's a great little note. And the actor who plays him is actually one of the funnier characters in The Wolf of Wall Street. He's one of Leonardo DiCaprio's little henchmen, their side guys.
Yep, I remember
We get another instance of this, Nick. Here we have Mr. Roger Harrington, of course, played by Martin Starr. Was originally a computer scientist at Culver University in The Incredible Hulk, before later becoming a teacher at Midtown High, a science teacher, no less, and the academic decathlon coach.
And we did a Rewatch Vault episode on The Incredible Hulk, and if I remember correctly, you were on top of this at that point too.
Yeah, I mean Martin Starr. I mean he's pretty easy to recognize there once you see him. You know, again, one of those very distinct features: long hair, big Coke bottle glasses, that sort of thing. So I stuck it like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Now I have another nominee, and I think it's the winner. So if you don't mind, I'd like to save it for last. Before you. Yeah, but I know you like this one. It's the big one. We teased it earlier, but I want you to go first.
Phineas Mason, the tinkerer here, is supposed to be the father of Rick Mason, who was the supply guy from Black Widow, who plays O.T. Fajabenley there. At least that's how it was in the comics. Clearly, that is not the case here, as Phineas Mason is played by a short, fat, red-headed, balding guy, and O.T. Fajabenley seems like a very handsome black man.
I mean, you never know. I mean, right? Like, who knows? Like, I didn't think that
British too. Like,
that's a good point. That is a fair point as well. But we didn't think that the Vulture was Liz's dad either. So
yes, again, culture, right?
Yeah,
that's coming through there.
Crazy shit has happened. But anyways, without further ado, Wes, we've been teasing this for a little bit.
Yeah,
the big find for us in this one, again, this could fall under the Internet Sleuth Award, but this is definitely more of an Easter egg, and could be. We talk about stuff that could come later on. Who knows? So Ned Leeds. That is Peter's guy in the chair, right? That's, we talk about guy in the chair all the time. He kind of gave us that like title for that character, the guy in the chair, I feel like. And of course he's one of Peter's best friends. But if you look up Ned Leeds, when you're doing Marvel, like trying to know if some characters are created for the movies or the shows, or if they were from the comics. Well, this character was in the comics. And he worked at the Daily Bugle, and he was married to Bretty Bant, who is the blonde actress. And if I remember correctly, in
Far From Home, right?
That's what I was gonna say, in Far From Home. And that character was played by Elizabeth Banks in the Raimi Spider-Man. Betty Brant was as well. But anyways,
she was the assistant to J. Jonah Jameson.
Yep, absolutely.
Love it.
Now with Ned, though, this is the big one. With Ned, he is one of the individuals that has taken on the title, Wes, of the Hobgoblin.
What?
Yes.
I jaw dropped when I saw this.
I was blown away, and you guys go look it up. And I was like, I could not pin down if he was the Hobgoblin in, like, if that was the same name for that character in the Spider-Man animated show. But it seems like there wasn't like a specific alias, a title attributed to that. Although Mark Hamill did voice that character, by the way. But I was blown away by this one. I would love to see Ned somehow, some way turn into the Hobgoblin at some point.
What if when Doctor Strange puts his spell and Spider-Man asks him to say, hey, forget the memory of everybody here. He's like, wait, what about Ned? What about everybody else? And Ned and some people that he may love, like Flash Thompson, perhaps, or love him, get upset at the fact that he wiped their memory without telling them, without their consent. And that's what makes him turn to the villain.
There are a lot of ways you could do this, and that would be awesome.
Interesting.
That would be cool. I mean, what if it's a simple James Franco kind of thing where he became like he started to hate Spider-Man for reasons that he without knowing that it was Peter necessarily. There's a lot there. And honestly, Wes, Green Goblin, of course, was huge for us in the live action sense, and obviously comics and everything like that too. But when you talk about the animated show, which those are the things that got you and me interested initially first, Hobgoblin felt like a much greater villain than anybody.
Yeah.
So I would love that. Hey, you talk about the sixth member of the Sinister Six. You want to make fucking Ned Hobgoblin?
Oh man, that would be wild. That would be wild. I would like that. Sign me up for it. That is the winner, Nick. Your presumptions were correct.
Thank you very much. Now it is time for your number one section of the show, award of the show, the Shield Internet Sleuth Award for Internet Research on the movie. Wes, take it away.
Yeah, we'll keep this kind of short and brief here. The writers were, quote, giddy when they first came up with that twist. Of course, referring to the Vulture plot twist reveal, because it's taking the obvious tension of meeting the father of the girl that you have a crush on, multiplying it by 1,000 when you also realize he's the guy that you've been trying to stop the whole time. And again, I think that's just speaks to how excited and how impactful it was for the audience when the writers were that excited about it coming up, like, oh, this is going to be great. So I think when that comes through in writing, Nick, you and I are both two top-notch writers. When you're excited about a certain topic or generally interested in a certain topic, that's generally going to come through in your writing, whether you want to or not, right? It's just going to come through by osmosis, maybe.
1,000%. It makes a huge difference.
Marvel made a laundry list of components from the previous two franchises to avoid, including conscious decisions to stay away from referencing characters who appeared in previous Spider-Man films. Aside from a few major ones, your MJs, who else? Your Aunt May's, your Flash Thompsons here, but they wanted to stay away from the Uncle Ben's, the overuse of the New York City skyscrapers, as I mentioned, and the Daily Bugle as well. And the note on the Daily Bugle, which I think is interesting because we're going to get this in No Way Home here, is they toyed with including the Daily Bugle, but wanted to do it the right way, a way that feels contemporary.
Yeah, and I respect that. And of course, we've seen since that we get J. Jonah Jameson back. I forget what his actual show is called, but I would like to see the. But
it's like an internet type, like Alex Jones type show. I don't think it's like a newspaper that you can pick up extra, read all about it type of thing. I don't think you're getting that, which I think is cool. So that's what they did, right? So this is again showing the foresight of the Marvel team at play here, right? So like. 2015 when they're writing their script, they're like, hey, we don't want to do this, but yet in 2018 2019 when they're doing Far From Home on a teaser, stinger end credit scene, they're like, let's put this in here. Now's the time to pull the trigger. So I think that's cool.
And I think so that is his show, right? It is called the Daily Bugle in that?
I don't know. Whatever it is, though. It's like, again, just like the Alex Jones type show.
Yeah, I would like, I mean, if that's, I forget, and we'll obviously do that rewatch at some point, but I would like to see the Daily Bugle as like an online publication only. Like that would make more sense to me. Mm-hmm. But either way, yeah, I think that's a really good one. And right now that's probably going to get my vote for this award.
Well, in this one, again, this kind of speaks to like staying away from the Uncle Ben stuff. It chose to focus on the high school aspect of the characters, drawing a lot of influence from John Hughes films. Of course, Ferris Bueller is like almost like complete scenes, like shot for shot remake in there. Rather than making a quote drama and weight of the tragedy that leads to the origin of Spider-Man, of course, with Uncle Ben's death. They felt this would differentiate him from the other MCU superheroes as well. Daly said the film was about Parker, quote, finding his place in the MCU, with the writing team wanting the film to focus on him coming to terms with his new abilities, not yet being good with them, and carrying with him some real human fears and weaknesses. So again, his nervousness, awkwardness through high school is that vehicle to explain his introduction to the MCU and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of next level stuff.
I think that one's probably my number two. I still think the overuse of things from previous or the use of things from previous movies gets my vote, but that one definitely came through. And kind of again going along the lines with all the writer stuff. I think that was again why this movie was such a success all around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then we have the Terrence Howard Award for casting what ifs, another one Wesley Q thrive at.
Yeah, so the Spider-Man, we went over this during the Captain America Civil War rewatch, which I might recommend as well as the Black Panther introductions there. But a couple names just to go over: Asa Butterfield, Timothy Chalamet, Chandler Riggs, who's from The Walking Dead, Tony Revolori, actually. So again, another instance where you have one guy auditioning for a role and then bringing him back to be the villain, with Loki and Tom Hiddleston and Thor and all that stuff, right? Charlie Rowe was another guy from Rocket Man there. But Adrian Toombs, the Vulture,
these are
some interesting ones here. We have Michael Shannon, Woody Harrelson, and Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and for those who can't picture Michael Shannon, he was General Zod in the Henry
Mm-hmm.
Cavill Superman, and I don't think I don't know, man. I mean, Woody
He
Harrelson,
could have done a good job.
Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Shannon. I think he's a good actor. I think Harrelson. I mean, Gary Oldman's an outstanding actor. I mean, look, Keaton did a great job in all this, but I think just the other guys that you had up for this role, I think just all around, like you couldn't have gone wrong necessarily here. But I don't know who would be your number one of those three. Wes, is it Shannon?
It would probably be Shannon. Harrelson would be too much like Woody Harrelson, right? Like you would get lost, kind of like Michael Keaton was here. But I think Shannon could do like a steely, reserved, kind of like very, very convicted type of individual. Just kind of like hell bent on carrying out his like whatever he believes in. So I think that could be kind of an interesting aspect. Gary Oldman just morphs into whoever you want him to be. You won't even recognize it's Gary Oldman. So I think that could be interesting. But he's just, plays the villain in every role, it feels like.
But you've won me over though, because Gary Oldman, as much as Michael Keaton was Batman before, and now he's not, he's playing a different role. Gary Oldman was I know he's played like Sirius Black, and of course was it Dick Cheney at one point, or and then who was the World War the British Prime Minister? I can't remember his name. Churchill. He plays all these. Yeah. Of course, transforms into all these characters, but he was Commissioner James Gordon as well, and a very good one at that.
But didn't even recognize that it was him necessarily.
Yeah, but so you could definitely give it to him because he's such a good actor. But you won me over with your description of Shannon. Somebody say you even changed my mind and put Woody Harrelson as my 3 on this list.
Woody Harrelson has a bird nose. Like I think that could work. Outside of that, I don't think it could work.
I think you're better off leaving him as Carnage, because you get now Woody can kind of be Woody, but it goes along with what Carnage is in all this too. But that's a conversation for another day. But Michael Shannon gets my vote for this as we go to the I Am Inevitable Award for Best Quote. We got a lot of nominees for this one, Wes.
Yeah, I think this one, we'll go with my favorite here. This is my other co-host would be, also agree with me on this one here. It's Adrian Toombs to Peter in the car scene. Again, I told you this would be coming back up in a lot of different ways. He says, "I'll kill you and your whole family. I'll kill you dead."
Yes.
And how he delivers that line, "I'll kill you dead," as if that is supposed to make sense. And like how no one just burst out laughing at that. Like, are you serious? Like, I think if someone had a gun to me and said that, like, I would still laugh, just maybe out of nerves. Like, what does that mean? You'll kill me dead. Like, that and like it invites like a whole Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm type of thing, where like you're in the middle of a shootout and he's like, wait, what does that mean? Kill you dead. And then like you just, everything stops and you just have like a breakdown of what that means.
I think when you talk about when we talk about best quote best quote, is like there's some things that you can reuse in the course of daily life, and or in stupid moments that maybe don't make sense, which is the case here with "I'll kill you dead." But then there are other ones that are just like interesting quotes, which are the nominees that I have here. But I think definitively, Wes, we're in agreement on this one. I specifically, "I'll kill you dead." Is the quote that lasts from this one the most.
Okay, dead.
Of course, you have Aunt May saying at the end of this movie the "what the fuck," which was kind of like, there's the whole shock of the moment, and then it's like, what's she gonna say? This is a Marvel movie, still as much as the Sony movie, and then it's like, oh my gosh, she almost said it. Then there's MJ, her probably best line in all this. "I'm not obsessed with him. I'm just super observant," when she lists off all the things that Peter has quit. But I think my number 2, I guess I would say in this, is from Mr. Harrington. "I couldn't bear the loss of another student on a school trip. Not again."
Yeah, which is like funny when you think of like on a surface level. Then you're like, how is this guy still a teacher? Maybe that's an unanswerable question. What's going on here?
Holy shit, that's a great call. That's a great call.
Like, who is putting him in charge of trips again after what happens in DC? They're going after those events. They're like, you know what? Let's trust you with a group of students in Europe. Like that sounds like a good idea to me. But anyway, a couple other quotes here is Ned when he's doing his guy in the chair thing at the end at the prom. He's like, or homecoming rather. And the teacher comes in. "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm looking at porn."
Yeah.
And just like the way that he kind of says it, like the delivery is great.
Yeah, very well done.
Also, the delivery here is very important. Captain America or Coach Hannibal Buress there. He's like, during after he's playing the PSA in the gym class, it goes, "Thank you, Captain. I'm pretty sure this guy is a war criminal now, but whatever."
Yep.
Again, referencing that he is on the run for the events of violating the Sokovia Accords from Captain America: Civil War, but also pretty funny too. So it kind of has a twofold purpose.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the funnier ones in all this. A very good slugging percentage out of Hannibal Buress, because then he also has the moment of detention where he's like, "Hey, wait, where are you going? Stop!"
Yeah, exactly. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
Yes, he is.
And he unearthed the Cosby stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's what I said earlier. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's a callback from earlier. Yes, of course, we love callbacks. And then we have one more, I think, from Iron Man, right?
Oh yeah, where did I see? I didn't even see that. Yeah, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. I mean, that's a little bit more of a serious one. Probably sums up the overall themes of this movie here. Much like Iron Man 3, this is kind of taking a page out of that book.
Now, when we look at the winners and losers of the movie, as we get into that for individual performances and individual characters, we start, of course, with the sad Bucky Barnes Award for who lost the movie. I think this is where we may have the most debate, Wes. I have Liz, because of course Peter, like messing around with her, pulling her heartstrings and everything.
I think that's it. I completely overlooked that. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, and then obviously the situation with her dad. I think the character Flash Thompson is also a big loser here because he fucking sucks in this movie. And you had one nominee as well.
Yeah, well, Happy Hogan takes a lot of L's here because, like, he's carrying around, as a chauffeur for a 15-year-old, and then he has to kind of check in with a 15-year-old and all this kind of stuff. And then, he gets all his shit stolen from Avengers Tower. Like, that's not good. A whole plane crashes on his watch. Like, he takes a lot of L's in this one, but it's definitely Liz. Her high school, she almost dies. Peter,
that too.
Peter keeps messing with her. Like, he is like, an F-boy beyond belief, saying like, "I'm sorry, I can't hang out with you. I'm not emotionally available, but I want you right now, but I can't have you." And just like pulling this poor girl on a string. And then of course, like the divorce and the father, and then moving away in high school across the country, like all that stuff. Portland sucks.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if I'd mind necessarily living in Oregon, but I think that if you go from living in like New York City and then you go live in Oregon, it's like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah,
thank you. Big L for her in this one. Then we got the J. Jonah Jameson Award for Best Performance by a side character. Unfortunately, he's not in this movie, so we can't nominate him. My nominee, I don't know if my character is the leading female actress in this, West. So I don't know if she can get it, but I have Aunt May, Marissa Tomei.
Well, she can get it. Oh, the award you're talking about. I see.
Wow,
you're doing that a little bit, but yeah, no, I think she is a side character in there. I think she's teetering on the borderline there, but I think she qualifies with it. Tinkering, teetering, yeah. Well, I'm thinking because I have the Tinkerer on the mind because my first choice was Phineas Mason because I just think he's hysterical with the stuff that he says, like very subtle comments. He's like, "What, I'm a natural person, or I'm a curious person by nature."
Yes.
What did I tell you about not picking up my phone?
Yes. Like, there's a whole thing with the supposed gravity gun that killed the first. That wasn't actually the gravity gun that killed the first shocker.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's like, "I don't know what that does." Yeah.
This, what the second shocker? I mean, like, look, he's not like playing this crazy big extravagant role, but kind of a cool character, like mixed in and all this. And I thought he was all right, but I wouldn't put him up for this award just as an honorable mention.
Amid my casting what if research, that was supposed to be boxer Tyron Woodley. He was rumored to play that role of the shocker.
I don't know
of the second shocker. You might know Tyron Woodley as losing to Jake Paul in a recent fight.
Oh, that guy. Oh, okay. And then who else? So I think the Tinkerer is a good one.
I think Aunt May takes this. The other honorable mentions, I think Mr. Harrington was great for coming back, and Aaron Davis. I'll say, and as Donald Glover, I loved the introduction in the moment of this because I thought of the ramifications, the implications of it. I thought it was pretty cool, but not having the payoff now 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road. It's just a little disappointing. I just wanted it to happen.
And then, another side character actually in all this too is Iron Man. And he was pretty damn good.
That's a good point.
Also cheating though.
Yeah, that might be cheating there. But I think Aunt May, I think that's a good one here. How about the Edith Award, the Even Dead I'm the Hero Award, Nick, for who won the movie, and I think this is really two options here.
Two options here. It's Tom Holland and Michael Keaton.
The actors. I'm not even sure if it's the characters in the movie, right? It's the actors in this.
Yeah, and I think my vote is going to go to Michael Keaton because as much as we'd seen him in other stuff like this, to me, is like he's back in like that pop comic book culture again, and now it's at its height, even like way more than it was when he was. I mean, it was nothing like when he was Batman, and now look at where he is again. As much as he may not be watching any of these movies, it's good for him for business. So,
you had to get the jab in there, but I love you coming around full circle on Michael Keaton. This is very big for you, Nick. This is big. I like this.
Thanks, Wes.
And this is big considering that Michael Keaton almost wasn't even involved in this movie. He had to turn it down originally because of scheduling conflicts with the founder, the McDonald's movie. But that got pushed back, and then this got pushed back, and some things opened up, and he was able to do it. So it almost, timing didn't work out originally for this. But the other option here is Tom Holland, just because he was a relative unknown, I think, to this point, and has really burst on the scene. I think, generally speaking, I think the consensus is that he is the best pound for pound Spider-Man Peter Parker. Like you're saying, there might be a better Spider-Man, there might be a better Peter Parker out there, but he combines the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, they both did a great job. I mean, it's, I don't know, but like when you look at Tom Holland, like his performance, like he's done stuff since, what was the movie we did a review of a while back, that Netflix one with
The Devil Among Us?
Yeah, something like that, which was a solid movie, a little bit different, pretty gritty, but it had, but I still gotta give my vote.
I'll go with Keaton. I'll go with the Keaton man.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Wes, that is it, right, for us?
That's it. I think we survived. Yeah, let us know what we missed. Maybe you've done some internet research that you'd like to share. Maybe you have some casting what ifs. Maybe you'd like to let us know what was the most rewatchable scene, or who lost the movie, or things of that nature. Hit us up on the Twitter sphere at ChangeMyMindPod. Or always hit us up on the YouTube and all that good stuff here. The hashtag DorkSharedGooniverse on Facebook. Interact with us. That's what we want to know. We want to hear from the people here what you thought.
Right, of course. And now it's time to
take a turn. Does that sound desperate? I feel dirty.
No, no. Honest to God, no.
Talk to me.
We never fucking do that stuff. So I mean, like it's not at all.
It's true.
As we turn into the discharge depot, though, Wes, I am going to leave things off with I watched Ready or Not. Lauren has seen this movie before, and I remember seeing the preview for this. This is starring Samora Weaving and or is it Weaver? Shit. Either way, and then Adam Brody. The lead actress in this is also in Nine Perfect Strangers, which I've been talking about, which again continues to be a kick-ass show. But this movie is I think it be a thriller instead of horror, but it definitely gets pretty violent. But I really, really enjoyed. This is the movie where you have the girl who marries into a family, and then the family is everybody's trying to kill her as part of it's part of like this rite of passage or whatever. Just play a game to get into the family. It's really interesting. I'm surprised that's not ringing a bell like the trailer.
Oh. No, it's not. I mean, horror's not really my bag, baby.
Well, it's thriller though. I mean, either way, Ready or Not, I recommend that to anybody who likes a little bit thriller-y. Also, rewatched Venom recently, which we may be talking about again soon. I'll save any thoughts for if we do a rewatch vault. Also, I wasn't able to be there for the Idle Hands thing, but I know Doc was there, Shime was there, Keith was there, and Doc was the champ for the Stein hoisting event, which I think he did like 7 minutes and 40 something seconds. So congrats to Joe. I'm sorry I was not there. I know you were upset about it, but you won. So
our dude's just built different,
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I think he needs as a chiropractor. I wonder, like, you have to check underneath the shirt if he has like some sort of exoskeleton, like in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that allows him to hoist. Like that low. It's a lot of stress on your lower back. Like,
yes.
I'm sure you have to angle yourself.
He's got a lean going that I guess he has a very effective method. I mean, there's a reason he's won it individually twice and also been a co-champ once. By the way, to just go back to what I was saying before about Ready or Not, Samora Weaving. I was correct on that, not Samora.
Oh, there we go. Good,
so,
good.
What have you been up to?
Well, football. Football season's back among us here, so that was fun. But. I'm going to be moving into a house on this week here on Friday. Yeah,
it's done.
Signing the deal on Friday, and then we're going to be popping a bottle of champagne and sleeping on the floor the first night there.
Congratulations!
long, arduous process, but not as long and arduous of a process as many other people, as I've come to find out. So you feel like you're in the shit for the whole time that you're going through it, and it feels like it's never going to happen until it does, and it's like still doesn't even feel real yet, but very exciting nonetheless. I'm excited to mow my own lawn here. It's
I'm very happy for you.
Euphemism. That's quite literal.
I had an idea. Jesus, that was the lead reaction on my part. But geez, I'll tell you what. I was definitely I at least had an idea of how frustrating this was.
Good sources. You know, it was off the record. It was embargoed until a certain time.
Yeah. I'm very happy for you that it's all done. I know you've been waiting to talk about this. So congratulations. And I cannot wait to see what this place looks like at some point too.
Oh, very exciting. Yes, but you know what you have to do before you come to my house, because it won't be ready. It'll be closed before you get to my house here, is the Cisco Brewery in New Bedford. You and Lauren got to go.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yeah, that is on. I actually forgot to write down. I remember seeing that picture, but that looks awesome. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Got to go.
All right, so with as we depart from the discharge depot.
Shared universe.
Way too many D's from US. That's what she
Double
said.
D's, triple D's. Oh, you dirty dog.
Look at a couple different ways there. Speaking of D's, Dork. What is this PlayStation event that they're doing?
So I thought they had some sort of big PlayStation of where they're like talking about all the new games that came out.
Oh, like yes. Yeah, they have them. They had the new Spider-Man game, the Wolverine game, and then what's the other one? They're reproducing the Star Wars Old Republic thing. Is there a Thor one too? I missed that one.
Not like Thor, like the Earth's Mightiest Hero.
Yes, no, God of War, and that features the character Thor, but obviously he's not just original to MCU. But I'm very excited for that Star Wars game. Darth Revan is a kick-ass character, and his action figures sell for like $60 a pop. So if we get him in a video game, that means cheaper version is going to come out, which is all I need. Anyways, Mac and Goo, they are doing another summer movies episode. It looks like.
Oh, this has to be like volume 3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, there's quite a few things that have come out over this summer. As for the People for Communism podcast, I have no fucking clue what they're doing. I know they've been doing wrestling recently.
I think they're going to be catching up on the quarantine camps that Australia is putting up right now, and they're going to be giving an inside look of that.
Oh, inside look. Well, Billy has been away, so I guess we know what he's really been up to. Okay.
Well, he's been building up those quarantine camps.
Well, there you go, Bill. And I know for Psych, I've heard it both ways. The Pineapple Boys, they're actually back finally this week. I think it's been a 2-week layoff, so they're finally doing season 3, episode 3 of Psych. I think as far as our show is concerned, that's all they're doing in the future. Season 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know at this point now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I actually Doc tweeted out today. That is why I know, because obviously they've been off for a little bit. But again, for TLDR this week, I am going to be talking about Sean Lewis's The Few from Image Comics, and Joe is doing American Carnage from Vertigo Comics, which is of course a DC imprint that basically now that's DC Black Label. Vertigo is no longer around. And then for let's see, What If? We talked about Marvel's What If. Would you listen? A Marvel What If podcast. What are you guys doing this week?
Well, we're going to be discussing the latest episode of Marvel's What If, and I believe that is going to be What If Killmonger saved Tony Stark from his own missile.
Ooh.
I think, or at least involve that storyline. I haven't seen the teaser yet. I saw a poster, teaser poster for it. But I believe it's going to be along those lines.
Very excited for this one. I actually forgot about this one. You mentioned it recently in our conversations, and I'm very, very much looking forward to this one. And it looks like there's one where we got Gamora wearing Thanos armor too. So I'm looking forward. These are 2 ones that should really kick ass, as much as we've had some good ones. And then speaking of video games from earlier, make sure you follow Davey, Shime, and Doc. They're all doing a bunch of different shit all the time over on Twitch. As for next week, Wes?
We're going to be doing the same bat time, same bat place, as always.
Alrighty. TBD to go with that?
Did we do TBD or did we hammer on something?
Venom, we had. Right? Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. Well, we didn't tell the people that, so either way.
Big reveal. We're doing Venom next week. How about that? To capitalize off of the Spider-Man Homecoming episode that we just wrapped up right now, but also to get ahead of what is about to be released on October 1st.
And as Wes already said, because I stepped on this sign off, same bad time, same bad place.
Oh, as always, of course. You're not stepping on anything.